welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Ian Carlos Crawford.
I'm Ashley Hullett.
And I'm Zachary Patton Garcia, and we're here to talk the new single from Lady Gaga, Abracadabra. Premiered last night on the Grammys. And then like a little footnote about the reboot news of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, starring Sarah Michelle Gellar and directed by Chloe Zhao. I believe those are the little pieces that we have for Hulu. It's a pilot that they've ordered so far.
Which, Zach and I were talking about this. I meant to look into this, but I've had no time. I think that's different. What do you think, Ashley, than like a pilot being made and then being shopped, right? If Hulu ordered the pilot, that's different,
It feels like they were like, hey, can you please make
right?
this so we can see how it would go instead of being like, we have this thing. Would you
Right?
please let
Yeah,
us make it?
right. So this like
That's what I
makes
think.
me feel a little bit more confident
Mm-hmm.
about
I
it.
think I think it's fair to say it's probably a done deal. I don't know though. You know what? We got through two fully filmed episodes of Lizzie McGuire before they dropped that shit. So Disney is a little wild.
That's true.
So we
I
don't know what'll happen. But I feel like they've been putting me. I know you and Ian, or Ian, you and I have talked about quite a bit that they've been putting feelers out for Buffy the Vampire Slayer for a while now. All the books that have been coming out, all of that, like it feels like they've been just sort of like throwing out different ideas and throwing out different like, well, let's see how the fans receive this book or this comic or this. Uh, Christopher Golden and Amber Benson said that this was not sort of like commissioned by their audio drama was not commissioned by
Yeah,
Disney, right? So
it
they
was
kind of
not.
like came up with that on their own. But I feel like this idea's been tossed around quite a bit, and so I, with knocking on wood, I would like to say this is a safe bet.
Because I did have a lot of text being like, is this real? And I'm like, it's Deadline. This is real. Like, this isn't like someone just saying a rumor. Like, Deadline isn't like a clickbait website. It's like a
Hmm.
legit outlet. Um, that's why, even at the end of their article, it says like who's represented by who, because they're that kind of outlet. So I have thought that's funny. So many people being like, is this real? And I'm like, no, like I am teaching right now in my class media literacy and reliable sources versus unreliable sources, and Deadline
Hmm.
is a reliable source. I can tell everyone
I don't
that.
even care. I don't care. I don't care. You know what was the reliable source? Was Sarah Michelle Gellar posting a picture of her sushi pajamas very pointedly and dropping that Easter egg. That
Yep.
is what confirmed it for me.
And like I mean, when she said it on Drew Barrymore that she was open, first of all, so Trevor Carley, who I love and adore, who does our animation, our opening animation, and talks angel and magicians with us sometimes, he and I talked a lot about how sometimes people will like try to tell us about Buffy, and like I don't think I'm the smartest person, but if there's one thing you can't like tell me about, it's Buffy.
Yeah.
And like I remember when I posted that clip, so many people were like, "No, she's always said she wants to do it." And it's like, "No, she hasn't. She's literally never said it." So that was the biggest for me, like I don't think she would say this unless like
The wheels were
Right.
already moving, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
or like she wanted it to happen. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
because right, like how many years did we all spend like her being like, "Oh no, it was perfect the way
Yeah.
it was."
Actively saying she didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um the rumor that I and I think I told both of you that like over a month ago I had gotten some DMs about rumors of a series, and this does fall in line with everything that I had heard. Um, and Zach, I mean, you even mentioned we talked about it so much that like you forgot it wasn't news that people
Yeah, I
knew.
didn't. I had today reminded me that it wasn't like the news wasn't already out there because I feel
Yeah,
like I've been anticipating it and expecting it for so long already.
I will say almost everyone on Slayerfest 98 team did know about it because I have
I mean, I've known about it since Sarah called me last year and told me, and she said, Zach, do you think I should do this? Do you think it's the right time? And I said, I think it feels right. And I sent her the sushi pajamas.
right, you sent that to her.
We have a pair of matching ones. I got myself some too.
But
Well, we
like
thank you for your service
yes,
then.
we appreciate it. But even then, like with people telling me stuff, I still because right, how long have we spent where it's like, ooh, there might be, and it's like,
Hmm.
Sarah always, I always knew that Sarah was saying no.
Yeah.
Um,
That
So
was the thing with me today. Like, I was like, okay, I knew that it was a reliable source, but at the same time, I was like, I need confirmation from Sarah's mouth.
but like she basically confirmed it for us on
Right.
just
I do
because
have a
like
bone to pick with her because those are not the right Susie pajamas. Hers have a green lining, and that's not on the originals.
I want you to know I looked too, and I was like, I wonder if I just can't see the green
I
line
notice a
in the
detail.
show. Like, because sometimes if you film something, it looks like, like it'll get blown
Yeah.
out. And I was like, I wonder if that green line is there. We just can't see it or like it blend. Because I was thinking that too. Um,
Hmm.
but the news broke. This is going to be our Buffy revival origin. The news broke while I was teaching. I always keep my phone on silent. So I often don't put it on do not disturb. I'll just like have it in my bag and it's not like loud. But I did continually hear it like literally almost the entirety of class hear it like buzzing in my bag. And I was like, man, is my group chat popping off or something? Like, God. Um, and then I let my class out, looked at my phone. Before we did this recording, I was still going through unread texts because so many people had DM'd me and texted me. And I can't believe it's like everyone knew an hour before Ian did, which is
I
rude.
know. I was surprised you took so long to text me back.
Yeah.
And I literally had to sit at my desk in my empty class and weep for 10 minutes before I could even like go out
Did
in
you
the
let them out
hallway.
early? Because I thought you were going to let them out early for that.
Well, I didn't see the thing till I let them out. I
Ah.
probably,
Uh,
let's be real, if I like,
Been like 10 minutes,
Class
y'all.
is
Go
over.
ahead. Go.
yeah, I'm like, great, we did everything in 5 minutes, everyone can leave.
I
And
was
some
like, he better be in class because
I think
he's
you
not
said that in our
responding to
text.
me. And if he's not in class and he's ignoring me, I'm coming up there.
Because sometimes like if they're doing work or like they're like whatever, I will bring up like Twitter or whatever on my computer, like just like
Right.
as background. Um, so it actually is good that I did not do that. I had like a lot of stuff to like talk about with them, and which is better
Mhm.
because and even if I didn't dismiss them, it would have been so hard for me to concentrate. Like I'd be like,
Yeah.
I need to talk to Zach and Ashley. But and to like whatever, I definitely was like so overjoyed, and then my other instinct was to like call my mom and say how like tell her about it, and she would be so excited. Um, and like it was funny. I like talked to my dad about it because I was like, well, I definitely cried. He was like, why'd you cry? And I was like, because like mom, and he was like, oh yeah, like he was
Well,
like,
damn. Why'd you cry?
oh, right.
Why you being a pansy, Ian?
But then he said, well, congratulations. And I was like, well, it's not really like, but thank you.
Yes, accept that. Accept that. Congratulations. It's a
um,
congratulations to all of us. We're very happy about this.
Ashley, how did you told me how you did, but I want you to tell everyone how you reacted.
Yeah. So I was totally calm. I didn't overreact at all. Um,
She's a
I,
liar.
yeah. No, I like squealed really loudly, and I work from home and so does my partner, so he's like in his office next door to me. I like screamed and I stood up so fast that I flipped my chair
Oh
over,
no.
and so he's like running in thinking I'm hurt, and I was stuck, like I was like reading the article, and so I was just like stuck in a shock face, I suppose. And he was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I like was not paying attention to him. I was reading the article, and he was like, can you just tell me if it's good or bad?" And I smiled, and he was like, "Okay, so it's good." And he just like sat there and waited and
I
was
would have
like,
been, oh my God, she's had a stroke.
he was just like, just waited for me to be done. And then I told him, and he was like, "Okay, yes, this entire interaction makes complete sense now."
Like I love that was his reaction. Like, oh, okay, yeah, it's
I was,
Buffy.
yeah,
Okay, I get
okay,
it. That's why you're
obviously.
screaming and knocking over furniture.
And then he was like, "We should start saving right now so that you can like try to go to the premiere and like ball
Oh
out,
my God,
or
I
you
haven't
got
even
to
thought about a
go
premiere.
to like whatever con picks them up to highlight them." He was like, "So we'll just start saving now." And I was like,
Holy
"I hired you for a
shit.
reason."
I
Gosh,
listen.
bringing the info that like we hadn't even thought about.
I listen. I let us hope that the Slayerfest 98 team can benefit from some of this. Um,
I'll
I've
reach out to
been
Sarah.
I've been putting a lot of work into this.
Zach.
I'll ask her. Okay, she doesn't really like doing podcasts though, you know.
maybe,
So
maybe, maybe this will be how I finally get her on.
maybe.
Because Evan Ross Katz did tell me she would have done it if the Joss news hadn't come out because she knows she like listened to the Stacey Abrams episode.
Mm.
Well, we'll see.
Maybe she'll do like her rounds
Right.
now.
Right. Because she is really good at PR. Like we've seen that,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Wolfpack barely did anything and kind of sucked, but like she did really good PR like
Yes.
for it.
Yes.
And I almost feel like, and she's done a lot for Dexter too, but not as much. But I feel like the Wolfpack was like prep PR for like when, because
Yeah.
everyone was talking about
and
Buffy.
the fashion on that PR was amazing. So the fashion is gonna be we're gonna get a lot of leather. I feel like she's
Yeah.
stepping back into her leather. So we're gonna get a lot of really great moments. I can see her on the Graham Norton show again. Can only hope. Things like that. She's gonna do fucking Kelly
Oh, yeah.
Ripa and who is it? Who is
Kelly
it
and
now?
is it Kelly and Mark? Kelly, isn't
Is
it them? It's her
I don't
husband,
know.
right?
It's a lot of people. She's gonna be doing all her favorites. So the View.
I want to
she'll
see
be
her
on
on
the View.
Kelly Clarkson.
How do we get on the View? How do we get on the View? Do you remember? I missed her by a day. Okay, I think I had baby. Who did we go to see the View and the next day? It was Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Oh gosh, it was the guy with the book.
Oh, it was a guy with the book. It was a politician. There was a politician.
Oh no.
It wasn't Don Lemon. No, it wasn't Don Lemon. No, no. It was a politician.
That like makes it
Don-
worse. It wasn't even like a
it
cool
was a
celebrity.
politician. We're talking about the first time. Don Lemon's mom was in the audience the second time we went, so that's what you're thinking of. It was a politician. He had written a children's book, and so he was promoting his children's book. And the very next day, Sarah was on, and I think she was promoting Wolfpack, so she'll be on the View. We've got to make sure we get there, y'all. She's gonna be on Drew Barrymore. We gotta make sure we're there. Okay, we've already been invited to Drew Barrymore, so we're cashing those chips in now. Okay, I would
My
like to
Bloody
come to Drew
Judy
Barrymore.
almost did that. So, God, I should reach out to her people to be like, when you have Sarah,
We have
on,
her email. I'm gonna email her.
I have the Drew Barrymore show like teams
Yes.
email because we talked to them
Pull those strings.
when I did the Scream live show and like we're in talks with her. So maybe who knows? Zach, how did you react when you heard the news?
I don't even remember how I figured it out. It was just doom scrolling. It was like a morning scroll something, and I think I just like came across it real quick. But it was pretty quick because I noticed all of the posts were coming in all in real time. So I think it was like right at the head of the news, and I read the article and similarly got excited and
Did you
but
knock over a
also, like,
chair?
Also, well, no, I didn't knock over a chair, but also was just like, oh yeah, this isn't out there yet. Like I've already had time to process it. I was kind of convinced already when, again, when she did go on Drew Barrymore was talking about it differently for the first time. I like was already like, okay, well, this is probably happening then. And yeah, so I was very excited. I told my husband about it. He's very nervous about it. Because some of the stuff that's come out, like some of the books and stuff, it's just not my favorite way to revive the things. I don't really want to see new Sunnydale resurrected from a crater. They fill in the crater.
I feel like
I don't
we are
want to see
gonna
shit
see
like
that.
that.
I feel
And
like we are gonna
that's
see that.
happened. So, but I'm like so stoked. I'm so excited about it because I was telling Ian that even if it is the shittiest show, it's one season, doesn't go beyond that. It just this is what I want to tell all y'all who are complaining. Don't bring it back. Don't ruin it. It does nothing to the show. It does nothing to the show by this thing existing. You can pretend
Right.
it doesn't exist, right? But I, in my lifetime, my God, my tongue looks terrible. I've been drinking tea, y'all. Okay, I'm healthy. This is a tea stain.
I didn't even notice
I
anything.
in the rest of my lifetime need to see Sarah Michelle Gellar return as Buffy Summers.
Yes. I feel like all three of us, your husband, half of Slayerfest 98's co-hosts,
Yes.
like all feel the same way. It's like I will cry just seeing her
Yeah.
be Buffy on my screen again in not an episode I've watched 8,000 times.
So
like
if
that.
you're gonna be shitty about it, don't say nothing because I don't want to hear you fuck sticks.
I
I
have
don't
Guess
wanna
what?
hear
You also
bad
don't have to
comments.
watch it.
Exactly.
Just don't watch it.
Exactly.
I-
You probably don't have a Hulu account anyway.
Yeah.
It's not for you.
that is like the only one I do pay for. I share the rest of them. I'm using someone else's password. I did have to like amend the caption when I posted on Instagram to be like, not fielding any negativity at this point. Do not want to hear your wah it'll sucks comments because like, oh boy. Ugh.
Yeah.
And like, I I understand because I was even texting with Nick Says Boo, and he was like, I am a little worried because a lot of the revivals, like, I haven't liked. And I,
Mhm.
sure, but like, let me be excited, is how I feel about it. I'm like,
Hmm.
Yes.
and I will say, Amanda in our Discord, who usually her and I always are on the same page, very cool. Love you, Amanda. She was like, I'm torn, blah, blah, blah. And I like explained to her basically what you said, Zach. It was like, Slayers, it wasn't my favorite thing, but I still enjoyed it. And it was like fun to have. And I feel like that's what we said in the finale. Like,
Hmm.
even if there was parts of the story we didn't like, we're still glad it existed. It was nice to hear these people back.
It
And
was
it didn't,
so not offensive either. There's
yeah,
nothing that took away, and so there were
Right.
still people talking shit about it, and I
right,
don't understand. I understand critiquing because that's what we were
right,
doing on our
right.
recordings. We were
Yeah,
critiquing. They should have done this. This would have been better. Blah 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 blah. That's it, consuming media, right?
right.
But this thing should never have existed. Ruin the legacy. Really? Come on now. Come on.
Like, it's like
You
you
being
said, Zach, just
wild.
don't listen. That's okay, right? Like,
No. Like, what'll piss me off if they bring Sunnydale back. And that's where I'll, be a little shitty about it. But I'm gonna be happy it exists, right? I am somebody who
Hmm.
always loves a million and one Halloween movies. I love any sort of revival you can give me. I loved when Fuller House came back. I love all of that stuff. So this is I happily accept all of this, Give it all to
yes,
me.
that's honestly how I feel. Like, because even when, I know it didn't do well and people didn't love it, but even when the Charmed reboot was announced, and we all know Ian's not a charm gal. Even I, because I assumed that meant they were bringing them back, and I was like, "Oh, I think I'll watch this. That's cool."
Well, that was different.
Well, that's what I
I
mean.
do
But
believe
like,
the charmed ladies were bullying the new, the new
right?
ladies.
I don't think that.
Could you imagine? Everybody's bullying Sarah, who was on the show, who didn't get called back for this reboot. It's like Emma Caulfield, tweeting at Sarah Michelle Gellar.
That really, you're right. That was what the charm girl didn't like. One of them like actually tweet bad about the
They were
show.
bad. They were
Yeah.
bad. And I think when the finale happened, I think the show ended with the new charmed ones like going through some portal or something and ending up on the doorstep of the house.
Oh,
And
I
then
didn't
they
know
go
that.
inside and like I think Holly Marie Combs tweeted, "Yeah, if we were really around and they did that, we would have vanquished them." Like, girl.
Oh my God.
I know she was like vocal about hating it.
Aggressive.
Like, calm down. Y'all are turning into the fans right now.
But like, so what I was gonna say is like when I assumed they were coming back, which was silly of me to think since they like hated each other or hated some of them, I was like, that's cool. I'll watch that. And I'm not even a big charm person, but just the idea of like them like, oh, we're gonna go back to the house. Oh, we're gonna get the
Mm.
witches. Like, I like that. And like I do, like you said, Zach, I understand critiquing, and I also understand like your husband being a little nervous. Cause I mean, I haven't loved all of the things, but I just feel like I'm just the idea of seeing Sarah in one episode saying something as like I don't care what it is, but she's being Buffy saying words, I will cry. And I know I'm gonna cry.
We did that
Like,
during the Wolfpack. She showed up in one. She had one
Yeah.
close up in the first episode of
we were like,
Wolfpack. Okay.
and we thought that was as close as we were ever gonna get to
I
something
was.
her doing.
Hmm.
We got a
What were
hair
we
flip in the
running?
last episode. She did a hair flip with a kick. She gave a little bit of combat, and we know Buffy Summers going to give us some combat in this show. So
Um, I so I want to talk about what I've heard. So in a DM I got, and all anonymous, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. um, and I've heard this from a couple of rumors
just say
that
Zach told you.
that Sarah Michelle Gellar was down to do it because Dolly Parton like talked to her about it. And I feel like if you're Sarah Michelle Gellar, even if you're someone like Sarah Michelle Gellar, you don't say no to Dolly Parton, right?
Oh
Like,
no,
Right.
no. I
and
feel like
like
shit falls upon you if you say no to Dolly Parton.
and like Sarah has even like very openly talked about how excited she was when like they got Christmas presents one year from Dolly because she was like, "Oh my God, she knows I exist," which I feel like even if you're famous, that is a reaction you have to Dolly
Yeah.
Parton, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
she's like such a like high up icon that I feel like if Dolly Parton's like, "I really liked that job you did," like,
Maybe they'll do an episode of Dollywood, like an abandoned Dollywood,
I
and
would
they gotta
fucking love that.
slay some vampires.
Dolly plays a higher being, sure.
Yes.
Put some cute light behind her, she looked great. Um, So that I have heard a couple times. Again, I don't know if any of this is true. This is just these are consistent things I have heard. And that Buffy will be a guidance counselor at the new high school where the new Slayer is. I've also heard that like they are keeping the identity of the new Slayer under wraps because it might be a mystery in the first episode who of the
Ooh,
characters is the Slayer,
I
which is
like
kind of
I
cool,
like
that.
that.
I
Yeah.
enjoy that. Yeah. That
right?
was that reminds me of Amanda. Remember when we all thought
Oh
it was
yeah, yeah,
Dawn and
yeah.
it was like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good callback.
And I think that's like a fun first episode thing because it'll like keep
Yeah.
you a little bit more hooked to be like, ooh.
Inside scoop, y'all. It's Kiernan Shipka.
um, so that is going to be like episodic monster of the week, but also still have like an overall big bad. And that they're trying to bring back whether cameo or reoccurring as many of the OG as they can get.
Hmm.
Which so Monica Owusu-Marine was going to be the showrunner of the revival. She has talked about it on our podcast. Um, her and I had spoken a little bit about what that would be, and this sounds a lot like what she was looking to do. I really hope they bring her because like she's such a cool person and such a big Buffy nerd and a big nerd in general. She deserves it. I hope they at least in some capacity have her work on this because she deserves that because they announced that revival before it was
Yeah.
in production and then it just
Hmm.
kind of like
It
faded
was a
into
weird
the
time for
ether.
that too. Like COVID was still going on.
Yeah.
It was right before
Fox,
COVID.
Disney was being really weird about acquiring Fox and their
Yeah.
different properties and basically just like taking everything out to the back and burning it all, you know. So
Right.
it was this feel the 5 years later feels a little bit better.
It does feel and like I feel like the three of us had kind of said this with Slayers because it was canceled, yet it was pretty popular and successful.
Yeah.
And let me say, because I do think, yeah, it was only canceled because it would have come back.
That's literally what I was about to say. Yeah.
I'm so
Because
sorry, Amber Benson. Your ass better be in this show. They better give you a check to come back.
her and Christopher Golden, I'm like, man,
Hmm.
they knew their shit. And so I feel like even if they're just like staff writers, right? Like, I don't know, give them
Yeah.
that job. And people, I feel like fans, I mean, I feel like fans would think that was cool. Like if the actor who
Hmm.
played Tara was writing on the new,
Yeah.
like that's cool, right? Like that's a
And it
cool.
might even pull people over who are like, I'm not going to watch it because they're going to fuck it up. But if you've got like original people in the writer's room, that could sway more viewers.
When you
Yes.
show respect to what came before, right? And I think that there should be. I mean, like those writers had the voice down. There is a very
Hmm.
specific voice, and those writers. I've seen other projects that those writers have been on, and you can hear it come through. The project may not be the best, but
Right.
you hear it in
No, I
that
agree.
writing. And damn, like these people are around. They're still working.
I mean,
Bring them all.
we just did that oral history, right? Ashley, how you spent
Yeah.
so long editing that shit. I spent so long interviewing those people, and these people still, I don't, they still get it. They still
Mhm.
understand why it's beloved. They still understand that it is special. And like, I mean, Ashley, you edited all of them, so like, I feel like, especially considering all that's come out, that they had this boss who was probably a nightmare to all of them. They all still understand why it's special. Especially even someone like Amber Benson, right? Her character was killed in this awful way, and she still is so loving about understanding why Tara and Willow were important and never,
Mhm.
ever, ever discredits that, never is like, oh, well, I hated working with him. So, which like I would almost understand, right? If you were like,
Right.
yeah, that was important, but like that, I hated my boss, so I like don't want to talk about that job. Like
There's
that's
nuance
not
to all
a
the situations, right? Like I remember when she said, um, that she believes to her core that he loved Willow as a
yeah,
character, and he was never doing anything to intentionally hurt Willow just because, for the sake of hurting Willow,
yeah,
that he believed in that story for Willow and that journey. And I believe that, and I don't think that just extends to Joss; it extends to all of them.
yeah.
Those are the people who know those writers in that room know these characters like the back of their hand. Those are the people who truly do know it, and that. So I don't want to talk too. I mean, that's what we're here doing. Never mind. I what would worry me is that people who like aren't super familiar and maybe do like one quick through watch, um, would be in the writers' room, right? I think the people writing this pilot are two writers from Agents of Shield, which seems like very in line with something like this.
Yeah.
So I would
Monica
trust it.
Owusu-Barine was a staff writer on Agents of Shield, so I'm really hoping that means that they're like, oh, our old coworker Monica was gonna let's bring her on because
Yeah.
Yeah.
giving
And
her all the
then
flowers.
Chloe Zhao, who's supposed to be directing, there's no reason that she would ever have to take a TV job, especially
Yeah,
for a pilot of a reboot, unless she has done. She's an Oscar winner. She's an Oscar winner. She has an Oscar. She works with Marvel already. Eternals. She's
yeah,
done Eternals. There's no reason she has to do this. That she's
right.
hurting and she needs to do this. So that is a really good sign that she likes Buffy the Vampire Slayer and
Yeah,
is choosing to do a TV pilot for Hulu, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I fully agree with that. Someone I talked to today was like, "Oh, but maybe Sarah's just doing it for a cash grab." And I was like, "No. No, she's not. Like she's
I'm
very
sure that check is
particular."
nice though.
I'm sure, and I'm sure she good for her. She deserves because she
Yeah.
did not get paid what she deserved on Buffy. So
Mhm.
like, I hope she fucking bargained to get like the highest pay she could get because she fucking deserves it. But I don't. Sarah doesn't seem like someone who cares about her job. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she even said that they asked her about Helen Shivers, and she was like, "No, I'm dead." Like, right? Like,
Mhm.
that would have been an easy cash grab, right? Like, come
Yeah.
back for a horror movie. Her husband's in it. She's there anyway. Like, she was taking pictures on set. So I feel like
Yeah.
that would be an easy cash grab for her to be like, yeah, sure. I'm already in Australia. My husband's filming. I'm on set. Why not? But she said no. And so I feel like for me, that's a little different. And I do feel like the fact that we all said like her saying it on Drew Barrymore, like I feel like I'm sure Dolly did ask. If Dolly asked you, you do it. But I also feel like she did come around to it, right? Like I
Hmm.
feel like she did. Which I don't know if y'all remember. Like 2 years ago, Dolly Parton gave an interview saying, "I fully chalked it up to she doesn't really know." She was like, "Oh no, we're still in talks about Buffy. We're gonna bring it back." And then
Yeah.
she said it on like Watch What Happens Live. And so many people were like, it's happening. And I was like, no, it's not. She's just thinking of when it was gonna happen and then it fell apart. Like, someone like Dolly isn't paying attention to Buffy, but she fucking was. And she probably, I feel like that's like a Patti LuPone thing where she's such a high level of fame that they can't be like, no, you can't talk about that. Like,
Well,
she's probably like,
you doubting Dolly, a plague will befall you in 3 days.
I just thought it was like, I know she had like her company did Buffy, but I still like she's so famous and so rich that for me, I was like, she's probably like doesn't care. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
if you're that rich and you like have your hands in like a zillion different things, it is hard to keep track of. I have trouble keeping track of my life and I don't have my hand in a zillion things.
Yeah, but Dolly, I think, is very intentional about what she has her hands in, and she's very involved in it.
I
Mhm.
mean, put on the clown makeup, Ian, because I was fully fucking wrong. And because, right, I do feel like even though it was 2 years ago, this is what she was talking about, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was probably like, oh, next week I'm giving Sarah Michelle Gellar a call personally. And like, she hadn't done it yet, but was gonna, and then like fucking did it. So yeah, I just think that's so funny because I keep going back to like, wow, Ian, you were wrong. So some other things, Sarah Michelle Gellar has been in combat training to get in fighting shape, which we love because if there's someone who deserves to play a character again where she doesn't have to do any action, it's Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Mhm.
But I still like if I see just seeing Buffy stake a vampire or do like one cool high
Yep.
kick.
Yep.
My life has been leading up to this moment.
I hope so too, and I think there's no reason why not. I mean, I know Buffy did a lot of, or Sarah did a lot of stunts, and did really put her body through it doing Buffy. But at the same time, those stunt people, you can very clearly see those stunt people working their asses off
Oh
on
yeah.
that show. Hell, even cut her stunt work back a couple percentages and put in a stunt person there. I don't care. We don't need to pause it. We don't
Yeah.
need to freeze frame and look at faces. Have somebody in a blonde wig doing quadruple flips and stakes, okay? But give us Buffett Summers.
Yeah. Yeah. Um Also, which from the Ken Dare Blake books a little bit, I guess, Willow apparently like they wanted Willow to have a daughter who was a witch that would show up but not be a not be a main character, which for me is fine. That's okay. I don't want it to be like a kid as a main character of one of them, but it's okay. Like they are arguably older than me, and I am just a weirdo who doesn't care about getting married and having kids. But that's fine if the some of my character. I don't want that for Buffy, but it's I can't. I wouldn't be able to handle it from Buffy, but it's okay if other characters do that.
Yeah.
um, and yeah, they're trying to bring back as many people as possible. That's like from one DM, and then so Critical Overlord showed me this, and this is from Reddit like 2 months ago. So like someone posted about Jane Schoenbrunn, who did I Saw the TV Glow, had posted that like they were like, oh, if like Sam Gellar's down to do Buffy again, someone hire me. And there was a Reddit post about it, and someone commented like, ooh, what if they did give it to Jane? That movie was awesome. And someone commented saying, I've heard otherwise. I met a couple of writers working on the new show. Let's reserve this. I don't think we're gonna love this, but I think it's okay. Sarah is definitely coming back. She's playing an older curmudgeonier Buffy because of how much slaying has ruined her life, but balancing it with being inspiring Slayer mother type. That's I feel like that's
I
okay.
don't. I'm not mad about that because I
Yeah,
do think that she would feel a little bit resentful towards that and towards that leadership role that she had to fulfill for so long. And but it only works. See, that's the thing, is it only works if she does not have a kid, if she's not
yeah,
married, if she did have to
I
miss out
agree.
on normal people life things, right? Um, maybe has been very distant from Dawn, had to be distant from her friends, had to really like she fell into that isolation that she fought so hard in those first seven
Yeah,
seasons. It has to make sense, but that could be a really interesting journey that she goes on in
yes.
this show,
It's
is
true.
to find.
And as long as it's like still feels like Buffy, I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
And
Hmm.
like you said, Zach, I do think that could make sense. Like,
Yes.
because Buffy graduated in '99. I graduated in 2001, so she'd be 2 years older than me. So she'd be 44 this year. But the rest of the post says the showrunner. It says Chloe Zhao is the showrunner. She's the person who did Eternals. There's no info online. I probably shouldn't be posting about it. It's a secret. Oops. And then there's an edit, and it says, it's okay. You can all downvote me if you want. I know you think I'm trolling, but I swear I'm not. And the person wasn't.
At least they survived. They didn't get too downvoted.
Like, I'm just like, oop, I bet they felt like, well.
Hmm.
And what else?
Do you remember when Yik Yak was a thing? I'd have been posting all about it on the Yik Yak.
Wasn't that where the little dancing videos?
No, it was I think the icon was like a moose or whatever, but you could go in and post anonymously in your area, and like people could downvote
Oh.
things, and the post would go away, or they could upvote them, and I don't know, people would troll all the time on there. I'd go leak secrets, you know. That's what I would have done if Yik Yak were around and I knew it all.
um, so those are the like things I have heard. I did get some names of some writers, but I'm not going to say that because I don't know if that's like I don't know. But yeah, I just like this sounds like kind of, and again, we've all talked about this so many, but it does sound like kind of what we've all kind of would have wanted, right? Like
Hmm.
I'm okay. Like I know some people are like, ah, Buffy has to be the main character, but I'm really okay with her being. I would have been okay if it's like she's only coming back for like 2 or 3 episodes, but if
Right.
she's like
No.
reoccurring, I do like that.
I 2 or 3 episodes would not work for me. I do want her to be a main character, but she doesn't have to be the main character. I want her name in the credits. I want her doing a Sarah Michelle
Share her
Gellar like
hair.
pops up. Yeah, something. I want her in those credits.
I feel like she's
But
gonna want to be a producer.
oh, absolutely. She's not doing it without a producer credit.
Yeah.
And Ashley, I said this to Zach earlier, and I feel like you probably feel the same way. I know a lot of people can be like, ugh, about whatever, but I do trust Sam Gellar's insight into the character of Buffy, right? Like
100%.
I really do. Like she did that. She knows that character in and out, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
so
I think
like,
a pitch like that could have made sense to her, is that she feels a lot of resentment and bitter towards the Slayerhood that was put upon her rather than her seeking out, right? And then she does this, it kind of speaks to maybe what the plot is going to be a little bit like, where they did such a big thing and helped the world at the end of season 7 and changed the world, that something had to have gone a little awry between then and now, that she would have been like, "Fuck, see, why would I even be the Slayer if we tried this big thing and something bad happened, and like I'm just going over here. I'm gonna go be a guidance counselor. I don't even want anything to do with the Slayer stuff."
Mm.
But then in the high school, she's like, "Oh, there's rumors of a Slayer. Who's the Slayer? Who looks like it would be Buffy in '96 or '97 or whatever?" Um, I can see it. I can see it. I guess I have a question though. Where do you guys see Buffy Summers before you have even heard about this whole thing?
That's hard. For me because I haven't kept up with the comics either, so I'm like,
Hmm.
is it gonna pick up like with the comic canon, or do we think it's gonna be like show canon
I feel like just
comics out
show.
the window?
Speaking of the comics, Ashley, was I did speak to Monica back in the day about whether the comics should be canon with the new show or not. And Monica and I did discuss that in a meeting we had, and it was like I was like, I think it'd be easy to keep the comics canon. You don't have to like be like, oh, remember when this happened? Remember when we like you should just they ended the comics in a way that you can keep going without having there's not like magic ends and they don't have magic for like a season or season or two of the comics, but by the end they brought magic back. So we're good. You know what I mean? It's not like they have to address that. There was there was no vampires, but when they lost magic, but then the vampires came back. Then there was some hybrid vampires, and I feel like a hybrid vampire is not something you need to explain. It's just like, oh, that's a hybrid vampire. Okay, right? Like, I don't know.
Well, let me push back a little bit, because I do believe in the comics they like magical beings are put in concentration camps for a little bit, and that would be weird not to not to bring up.
But
We were all in concentration camps 10 years ago, but it worked
but I
out.
do feel like that's all that's it. That like talk about like if there's like a story with like another mayor or something, like he could mention it in one of his speeches, be like, well, when they because there has been so much time between the
Yeah.
Mm.
shows that I think it's allowed that things happened off screen. So that's what I mean. Like I think that's easy enough that like, yeah, that should happen off screen where it's not still the show has to like do a plot line of stuff that happened. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Yeah.
think and I mean,
Mm.
I know people don't like this. I just don't fucking care. But like Dawn and Xander end up together, and the last like issue, they like have a kid. I don't fucking care about that. I really don't. I know some people are like adamant either way. I don't care because when you think about it, Dawn just always felt a bajillion years younger than them, and she wasn't. So it's the same thing with like Wesley and Cordelia, where like that actually is bad, but I don't care because those are actors that look the same age. So
Yeah.
it's just clearly two people who are the same age. So I have a lot of trouble reminding myself, ooh, that's actually supposed to be a pretty big age gap, but it just does not look like it at all. Um, so in my brain, I just am like, meh, whatever about that because of it's clearly two people the same age. And I don't really care about Dawn and Xander. They're not my favorites. I just don't care. Um, they named the
I think
baby
it would just be
Joyce.
super easy to just not even reference it though.
Right.
Just like leave it
That's
up
true.
to whoever's doing
But
that shit.
also because I don't think they'll bring Xander back.
That's I was about to ask that question is because he's really struggled
Yeah.
and done a lot, and
Hmm.
I see Sarah very. I mean, she was very interested in Wolfpack and making it a very safe set and
Yeah.
a set where everybody feels comfortable. And I don't know that she would feel comfortable with him
And
skulking around.
I mean, he wasn't in the like only Charisma Carpenter and Emma Caulfield stayed for when he went to the reunion.
When's the last time
And
he's even posted anything? Oh my god, maybe we should have checked that. He might be going on a full like Kanye West tirade.
oh my gosh,
Oh no.
I yeah,
Nicholas Brandon. Let's see. 3 days ago. Hold on. Let's see what he said.
Good God, I look for him.
That's all we need. Okay. I don't know what he's doing.
but yes, so I do not think that he would be even I think
Yeah.
Michelle Trachtenberg, I think Sarah probably like I could see her coming back because her and Sarah are like still friends and like comment on each other's Instagram. Because I don't think Michelle Trachtenberg would want to because of her understandable past with Joss, but I think because her and Sarah are friends and Sarah's like I think there's a chance she would come back because that would make
Yeah.
Oh, I
sense.
think it's probably it's like in the 90% that she's
Yeah.
gonna come back. There's no way.
Like I feel like
Um,
of the actors,
there are people who I'm like 100% sure. I think it would be Sarah. I think it would be Giles, Willow, Dawn. I
yeah.
think those are like the ones, and everybody else is more of a question mark, right? You got to consider vampires' ages and how the actors have aged, and
I blocked someone
um,
on Twitter. I opened Twitter very briefly, and the first thing I saw was, "Oh, right, you're gonna bring back Buffy when the vampires age. It's a whole show about vampires." And I was like, "You're a fucking idiot," and I blocked them.
there's ways to do it, but like, is the studio going to give them a budget to do it, right? To de-age people and
Right,
to do
right.
all of that. However, I will say, Miss Juliet Landau looks exactly like she did way back then. They don't need to de-age her,
Julia
okay?
Landau and Julie Benz could easily go back into those
Throw
roles.
him in. And
Yeah,
we just
yeah.
let Drew kind of like run into the distance in Buffy season 5, and that was the last time we heard of her. So
And
she could
I
be a big bad.
loved what they did with her in the comics. I actually
Mhm.
really like. She had one of my favorite because the Angel and Faith comic was my favorite, even though like Angel isn't my favorite. It was my favorite of the comics
Mhm.
because it was removed enough from the show, but still had but it still had like new character. It was a really good way to do a comic that's a continuation of a show. And Drusilla, they had like because they lose magic, it's like Drusilla loses her like whatever powers, and the powers are what make her not lucid. So she
Mhm.
becomes lucid and she kind of becomes like a crime boss in London. But is like chaotic neutral, where she like doesn't care, is like a crime boss, but isn't like actively trying to do evil, but also doesn't care. And I really liked that for her. And she wore like cool suits. And I think that would be a cool thing to do with
I think there's
Drusilla.
so many cool things that you could do with Drew. Like maybe have her sort of madness turn into almost like a villain's power for her where she can
Yeah.
drive others mad in a way, like get into their brains and I don't know, drive them crazy.
And I I love Spike. I love Spike. I love Spike. I need to stress how much I love Spike. No one get mad at me. I love him. I love him. He's my choice of Buffy's
Well,
boyfriends.
then what do you want to say about Spike?
I do not think we need Angel or Spike. I
I don't
don't
think
think
I don't especially right off. I don't
Yeah.
think so. I don't think so. I think if we're establishing a new, I think keep it very minimal.
yeah. And like
And then there's room down the line.
right, right. I would not be opposed to seeing them, but I understand that and I think you said this in an earlier recording, Zach. People age, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with aging. Of course, these people have aged. Julia and Julie happen to just be gorgeous and be able to fit into those roles again. David and James, not as much. They're still very good looking guys, but that's okay that they've
It's okay to
aged.
say people age,
Right. I
and
know, but
that
Mhm.
vampires just don't age. They just don't age, really. I would say, like, didn't they? It was they destroyed the ring, right? That lets you be human.
but
It's a fantasy show, okay? We made it a necklace this
there's
time.
another one.
Yeah.
There's another one. One of them could fucking be wearing that, and that's how he aged. And
Yeah.
you know, there's fucking ways, but
I
like
feel like
again,
there's a sorry.
no. Go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I feel like there's a chance we get a Seth Green cameo too, just because
Yeah.
him and Sarah are like pretty close still.
I do
I
feel
think
like
so.
all the actors that we see that are friends with Sarah are more likely than not to come back.
Yeah.
And I think Oz would be a good character to bring back because there's like lore and history, but I don't know, there's not like too much, right? Like
Mhm.
he's a
Yeah,
werewolf and he left.
And we don't have like there's nothing saying that werewolves don't age, so
Right.
that's a
Exactly.
non-issue for him.
Right.
Well, and like I did like what they did with him in the comics is that he went off to like what Tibet or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that and had all the knowledge. Like he could come in for an episode and give the thing that we need, the explainer that we need. You know, that would be a fun little like tie-in. Yeah, we
I
don't need Buffy's boyfriends right now. We
No,
just don't need Buffy's
Yeah.
boyfriends right
Yeah.
now.
that was going to be my next thing is that like I know a lot of people, Christopher Golden mentioned this when we did Slayers, that like people would be like, well, why aren't Buffy and Spike together in this? And it's like, well, clearly they weren't going to get Sarah Michelle Gellar. Like they just weren't going to get her for an audio drama. But I just like I don't need that part because I do think, and I know this is me projecting a little bit, a little bit, but I do think like 40-ish year old Buffy wouldn't be married to Spike or Angel. Like I just don't think she would.
Yeah.
I think
That would be the most. It would be so fucking ridiculous. It would be
right.
so ridiculous that she was just. I mean, but I guess, okay, the argument for it would be that, right? Sort of like being famous. Fame arrests you at the age you became famous. So, like her being a Slayer, she's arrested sort of at a teenage. But that doesn't also make sense because she had to grow up so fast that she was older than her years. Why the fuck would she hold on to these high school boyfriends who like tried to kill her, tried to rape her? Sorry, I said it. Or
Don't
even
say it
talk
out
down to
loud.
her, or even talk down to her and was shitty. She just doesn't need it right now. I would like to see her with a boyfriend, right? I would even fucking Principal would. People don't like it, but I would even be happy with that, right? Um,
It would be like the
I
reverse of what Faith usually did. Faith usually fucked the men she fucked, but she could fuck the man Faith fucked
I
first.
would even like to see her with a boyfriend that she like is pretty happy with, hasn't been with for a long time, and he dies. And that fucking sucks, but it does something to her journey, maybe. I don't know. Because she's gonna date. I do want to see Buffy in love. I want to see Buffy, giddy and kicking her feet, and I want to see that stuff. But Lord Jesus, do not give. Really? You don't want her to have a boyfriend at all?
I think
I
that she has people on the side that
yes.
she, gets what she needs from, but I
That's
don't think that
okay.
she's tied down in a relationship.
Yes. I could
I
even
don't think she's like super tied down, but I don't see an issue with like a dating title. We're
I
dating. She's secretly seeing somebody she works with at the school, maybe,
okay.
or
I could buy that. I could even buy to your point, Ashley. That is a way that I could see her still seeing the only way I could see her still seeing Spike and Angel is like maybe sometimes they hook up. And like
Hmm.
that would be it. It's like she knows Spike lays it down. Angel was like one of her first loves. Like, sure, like kind of in the way when uh Angel comes back in End of Days and they make out, but it's not a thing. It's like they make
Mhm.
out, they're good, they keep moving, they talk about the fight coming. There's not a like, ooh, they're gonna get back together. It's like, no, we just made out because we both think
Yeah,
we're hot.
It's what we do. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I would be okay if she was like, yeah, I still sometimes fuck those
that's a
vampires.
season 2 thing,
Hmm.
though. I don't want to
Yes.
see that season
But
1.
also, if we're getting this like jaded older, then she's probably would be like, I don't have time for
Yes.
relationships. I don't have
Yeah,
time to deal with the emotions that come with that because it's always going to end bad.
Yeah.
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 Everything in my life ends bad.
I just
She's
like,
not getting married. She's not getting married. She's not having kids. I
yep.
think that anybody who's ever watched Buffy should. I mean, like everybody's opinions are different, but you
But only
should be able
ours are
to
correct.
You should be under. You should understand that sort of path for her.
Yes. I like Kirsten White was the first person to say this on Slayerfest, and I just like that is what I've always been. She's like, and it's how I think of myself too, probably because I put myself in Buffy's shoes often. That she ships Buffy with none of the men, but she ships Buffy with financial independence. And that is like I feel like that is the perfect like I want Buffy to be able to like be good. Like I want
Mhm.
her to like be comfortable and be like, all right, maybe she has a normal job, but like she's good. Like
Stability.
I think
Mhm.
she needs stability first before we talk about like the men.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about myself. Like I turned 42 just a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, a week ago.
Mhm.
And like I mean the two of you know me pretty well. Like I'm not someone who's like, "Oh, I wish." Like I'll be like, "I want to fuck that guy." But it's not like I'm like, "Oh, I need a boyfriend." And I just don't think Buffy would be like that. You
I don't
know?
think that she would be like that, but I don't think she would be averse to falling in love. She seems like somebody who would fall in
I'm
love
not
for the
averse
thrill
to it.
anyway. I'm talking about Buffy Summers right now. I think she's somebody who like does like getting caught up in like the a romance. That's exciting. That's a feeling of excitement, and I could see her not chasing it, but like again, if she's like working with somebody at school and she's,
I
um,
do like I think that
they could
that would
start
track.
hooking. I mean, it's very
She
like
loves a work romance.
Carrie Tate, and Halloween H2O, right? Something that starts as like a secret that's supposed to be just, well, we're not doing beyond this, right? We're not
Hmm.
stop doing it. The guy's chasing her a little bit more, and it could develop into something later. Who knows? But number one, not married, doesn't have kids. She's not going to get pregnant in the show.
Jesus.
I don't want Buffy with a pregnancy storyline. She's a
No.
great fucking aunt to Dawn's kid. I see
Yes.
Dawn with kids.
But see, and that's why I'm okay with like the comics continuity being Dawn had a kid. Sure. And like her naming her kid Joyce would make sense.
Okay.
I don't think that's like so like clumsy for the like if we didn't have the
Joyce
comics,
Harris.
If we didn't, if we didn't have the comics and this new show was like, yeah, Dawn has a kid, that wouldn't be crazy to me, right? Like, I don't
Yeah.
think.
Right.
I don't know.
I think because we've talked a lot about, we've done a lot of like daydreaming about what, all of these, like what we would do with a Buffy reboot and stuff like that. And I could see like Dawn running some sort of like home for magical children who were like, thrown out or something. Like Dawn would be a service worker somehow. Dawn is
Yeah,
a
yeah,
helpful
yeah.
person. And I do think Dawn would have her own kids. I may not even think that they would be biologically hers, but she has
I can see
taken
that.
in
Yeah.
a kid or two, and they are magical somehow. Um, and she's involved in that world without having to be involved in saving the world, right? Like
Yeah.
she is a nurturer. Because she knew what it was like to be the key, to find out her identity and
Mm-hmm.
nobody be able to really like help her with that, you know?
Yeah. No,
Um,
I think that because also, like you said, Dawn's a helper, and she always did want to be involved. They just didn't let her be involved
when
until she
she was
Yeah.
decided.
helping the potentials, like when she stepped up for Amanda, that alone shows you the type of character that she had, and I think
Yeah.
that would have just grown and flourished. I also agree with, I think it was Adam Sass that said it on your show, that I don't think Buffy would be as close to her friends from high school as she
Yeah.
is like that people would want her. I don't think her and Willow would have like kept in touch, hardcore. I don't think they have any bad ill
Although
will or
between
bad
Willow and
blood.
Xander, Willow would be the one I think that she would still talk to.
Yes. I think it makes sense that Nick Leatherhead would not be around.
Yeah.
But like, when Willow shows up, it's nice to see you. But
Yeah.
I haven't talked to you in a long time. Willow, you're on your whole magical journey, floating around and in other dimensions and shit. I don't know. Willow's got like a big magical journey ahead of her.
I like that is one thing that I really like. I love. I mean, we all love Willow. I loved Willow's arc, and I hope that it continued. Like in my brain that continued. Like Willow just kept collecting more like of a coven, like helped other witches, like Wicca
Because what
good
do you
and
do
love and
when you're
earth,
young?
and
What do
I'll
you
be
do
over
when you're
here.
young? You fuck up and you like overindulge in things and you get hooked on magic and but she learns
Yes.
because she grows beyond 22, 23 years old in the future.
Right.
She's like a 40 something year old woman now. She has done the work. She has like learned where she's able to do magic and what's a little too far and what's, I
Yes.
trust her and
Yes.
I would love to see her magical journey, how that is played out.
And
Hmm.
I think Willow and Giles would keep in touch.
Yes,
Yes.
very close. I think they would work together on things.
I could see that. Yeah, I could totally see that. I think Giles and Buffy would still keep in touch, but I think it would be like a distant relative that you love, but you just like don't
Yeah.
live near, so you don't really. And he's older, so I wouldn't imagine he's like texting her. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I also
so
think Buffy would isolate herself from a lot of people. If we're going with this jaded sort of thing, I think in my mind, Buffy, for the first 10 years after season 7, was like really heavily involved in saving the world and like gathering these slayers that are newly born and
yeah,
really like leading charge, and it tires her out, and somebody, and I picture it being Giles, tells her, hey, we've got this and you've earned
yeah.
some peace and
I'm
quiet.
gonna
And so
cry.
she accepts that and goes off, maybe gets an apartment. I loved the apartment in San Francisco in the
I did like
comics. I
that.
loved it
Yeah,
that she had this apartment in San Francisco. Like she goes off and gets an apartment, gets a fucking Netflix, a Roku TV, right? She's so amazed at how cheap they are. And she gets to watch Housewives or something,
I would
right? Like
love to hear Buffy. Yeah,
I think she goes through phases of like interests because she's like learning things and like getting to
yeah.
know herself and like,
Uh-huh.
and I don't think she ever stops slaying. She goes to the cemetery sometimes. She goes, but she doesn't have to save the
Just
world
as
every
much.
single
Yeah,
time. She becomes a guidance counselor because what did she do in season 7? She enjoyed it. She enjoyed
Yeah.
helping people and talking to people, but it's a quieter existence and something that she is able to still get that itch out for helping people, still being able to slay vampires, singing once more feeling in the cemetery still. But does isolate herself and doesn't want to be part of like, if they call her up, hey, new Hellmouth opened up, we're about to close it. I think I'm good for
Do you
this one,
think? Do you
y'all.
think Dawn would keep? I think Dawn would keep in touch with everyone.
Yes. Dawn would
Yeah, I
be,
think so
we've
too.
got a couple characters who are glue, and I think Dawn would be glue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I feel like she would be able to update Buffy on like, oh, Willow did this or Giles did, because I also like I could see Buffy being someone who like only has Instagram and barely looks at it or posts.
Last
Like,
post was 2015, right?
yeah,
It had
Yeah.
a heavy Instagram filter.
yeah,
But like, yeah, Dawn is the one that, hey, did you hear Willow did this? You know, Giles and Willow just, you know, closed the Hellmouth in Cleveland. Oh, that's nice. Willow says you haven't called her in a while.
yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Another
She's
thing
just
from
is
also
what
the
it is.
only one that keeps the group chat going.
yes, Buffy never replies to the group chat. It would be
No.
Buffy
Buffy doesn't
never.
reply in the group chat. It makes it
Willow gives
green.
her like the pity response.
I also a thing from Slayers that I actually would love if they just carried over was Giles marrying Olivia. Like I think I loved that
Hmm.
Loved
idea.
it. Loved it. What would bring them together? A wedding. Okay, Giles's wedding.
God, didn't we pitch that in one of
Yes.
the
We
episodes, Zach?
we
Like
did,
as
no
that
we when I came to New Jersey, we did a whole lunch where we talked about all of this, and it carried like 4 hours over that we kept talking about it. So we
Zach
said it
and
begins
I
with a wedding.
are never not talking about this.
Yes.
I want you both to know also, I just thought of this so often when you're talking about and you think about a lot of this all the time. Walking to class, I forgot my headphones, which is the worst because it's a 15-minute walk from the parking garage to where I teach. And when I have moments like that, I just make lists in my head because my ADHD brain can't just like walk and like enjoy a walk. I gotta be thinking about something or listening to something.
Hmm.
And so I always make lists. And I like was literally making Buffy lists in my head on the way to class of like things I wish happened, or like, oh,
Yeah.
like what episodes am I excited to cover soon? And like I was thinking about that on the way to class when like an hour later
Mhm.
news broke about the revival. So like it's still like I know it's like, well,
Yeah.
fucking duh, you got like Sam Geller on your wall, but like it is always on my brain.
Yeah,
Like
I build out
Yeah.
revivals in my head all the time.
I used to when I would still like go to a salon and get my hair cut. I just cut it myself now. Like when I was like when they would like wash my hair, I would like think about ways Buffy could come back. Like I
Hmm.
remember one time when she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do an extra, I don't know, like extra conditioner or something," and it took longer. And I remember like in my head picturing where I would pick up, and like that's when I came up with the idea that I've said on this podcast a zillion times. But literally, that's when I came up with the idea of like, oh, if I did a revival, it would start with a flashback to the way Angel ended, which doesn't need to be too long, but like a blip of Willow opens a portal and a bunch of Slayers come in, and like that's
Oh,
what helps them
cool.
not all
I like
die.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't have to be like showing us every detail of it, but I think that would make sense
Hmm.
that Willow, like we got all these Slayers in season 7. The way Angel, you know how Angel ends, right, Zach?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
It's
okay.
just in the alleyway. It's raining.
Right.
They're facing
And
off against monsters.
like right,
Hmm.
like I feel like even if Buffy couldn't make it, Faith would lead that charge because she loves Angel, right? Like so and like her with a Slayer army with the fucking scythe would be cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be good. I, hmm, yeah,
I do want to
I
see
don't
Faith
know.
too. I know Eliza Dushku's retired, so I really don't
She
think she'll
needs a
come
big
back.
fat check
Yeah.
because you know, getting her mental health business,
She could
whatever she's
help,
doing, that you know, it needs. Maybe she can like build a center
but
or
I
something,
but
right?
I feel like she's one of the least likely to come
Yeah,
back.
Hmm.
I
I
think
think so
so, but
too.
Unfortunately.
it's okay. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. They would have to like. I feel like she'd be like super involved in what her character's doing and what that looks like right now for her.
Well, and I gotta say, like I said this about Sarah Michelle, but I would trust Eliza Dushku with that too. Like I feel like I would trust people that played the characters for a long time and don't seem like assholes. I would trust
Hmm.
their insight into these
Yeah.
characters, right? Like,
Hmm.
because I also like Eliza Dushku. Faith was like the role that defined every role she got after that. Like
Hmm.
she was never playing like the damsel. She didn't get killed in horror movies. She was a final girl in these horror movies.
Right,
Like
right, right.
She was
she
a little damselly in Wrong Turn. I mean,
yeah, but she's
but
the
that
one
was
that
like a very it
survives.
was written very tropey. So like the guy had to be, the big strong man who saves her while she's tied up to the bed.
But like, I don't know, she's still like in a tank top jumping from trees, jumping
Yeah.
away from the
Hmm.
guy while the other
Hmm.
She
girl gets
just
her head
has
chopped off.
Eliza Dushku has big dick energy.
Oh yeah.
When I remember watching
Yes.
her in the Nickelback music video and just being like, oh, spell me.
Listen, when we like me and my straight best friend Kevin, when we like went up to her at Comic-Con and it was like the end of the day Sunday. It was when she was dating that sports person, Rick Fox. I don't know what he plays for. Um, she like came out, put her arms around me, and told me I was cute, and I've like I was like,
She's cool. I've seen her on the panels, and she's like always really cool. The way she says things is so cool. The way she just like delivers.
right,
She's
like
not coming back though, so stop talking about her.
she's like flawlessly cool and hot.
And like
Yeah.
effortless.
Yeah, like she's not like
It's just natural.
putting it on. Yeah, that's just like how she is. Because she really like looked me up and down and was like, "You're cute. I like your hair." And I was just like,
I would have
"Holy
died.
shit!" Like,
I think it's with somebody like her, um, because she had to like keep a secret for so long, right? With what happened to her, she was never really able to like come out and publicly say
yeah,
things
yeah,
the way she wanted. It's still pretty fresh for her
yeah,
that I think it might even be too soon
and
for
that's
Hmm.
her
fair.
to want to come back and do something. I do think in the future, like she might would like something like that, right? To see how things are going and like maybe something presented to her that does deal with mental health. And because Faith was such a great character for like a good template for that, to talk about mental health, to talk about, dark side and redemption. And I
Yeah,
could see
yeah,
that being appealing to her, especially in the line of work that she's in now. But the question is she still too close to
yeah,
everything coming out publicly? Would she
yeah.
even want to revisit it in a way like that?
Yeah.
Also, I got a hot take that none of y'all are gonna like. I was texting with Dominic Burgess about, so I've been texting with everybody about this all day. He's been on the podcast a lot. He was in The Magicians. He was in a Skeleton Crew too. He was like, I just don't want Willow to be with Kennedy. I don't want to see Kennedy. I'll tell you what, I want to see Kennedy because she's a
I
fucking.
don't hate Kennedy as much as like I like to make Kennedy jokes, but like
I don't want her and Willow to be together because
mhm.
that's always my defense is like she was just a hot fuck at the end of the world. But I think Kennedy would make sense as like some kind of leader of some kind of faction.
Yep.
I agree. I agree.
Slayers,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. When we've talked about our pitch, we've talked about it in a way that everybody's kind of split up. So like Buffy is still like has had that whole like she does 10 years, she's kind of wants to peace out, and it's her and Faith like hopping countries in Europe, right? Or like she's like we pick
And
up
they
with
make
her in
out a little.
Paris. Yeah, and they make out a little and they go, to clubs and fuck guys and then they get a little drunk and want to go to the Paris catacombs and stake vampires and like that's what
Yes.
they want to do. And um but around the world, our group is kind of like, you've got your factions of people who are like Angel is in charge of a Hellmouth, Kennedy's in
Yeah.
charge of a Hellmouth over here,
Yeah.
and like we've
Yeah.
always like envisioned Kennedy as still leading something.
Because she is like a leader type.
I
So
think so.
Yeah.
I do think, and I feel like that actor would do it. And she's very nice. Yeah, I think she
And
would
they're
do
not
it.
writing Yo Faith anymore. It's just not happening anymore. So they're we can do it.
They're not writing what?
Yo Faith,
The fuck is that?
Yo Faith. She would say things like that.
Oh,
Yo,
oh, you mean like they're not
ah,
writing her that dialogue anymore? Yes, okay.
Yeah.
yes, yes.
I was like, is Yo Faith a YouTube channel? Is she like a weird religious person? um,
I like that you went to religion and not like
I know
faith.
we're just the character we were just talking about. But I would like that, and I would even love like I don't know, sure, have V pop up. Have I'm like, who survived of the Slayer
It's
girls?
just you can do, and you don't even have to commit to having these characters like have
Right.
huge roles and things, right? Like I would love to see Harmony with a reality show on Bravo that she like tries to convince
Yes.
all of these like Scooby Gang members to be in, right? Like she's always trying to convince Spike to be her love interest that she fights with on her own reality show.
She would absolutely try to get Buffy to do it and be
Clem
like
is
the
there on the
audacity.
reality show. Clem is like the Eddie Cohen, he's hosting reunions.
Also, make Clem gay because Clem is gay. In my head, he's always
Yes.
been gay.
Sure, yeah. But like you can check in with people like that, just turn on the TV. We get a quick like moment on the TV. That's funny for
Right?
us.
Oh my God, right? Like, imagine if like a weird thing to reference. I don't know if you both saw Hot Frosty, but when
I'm not
Hot
watching that.
the titular role turns on the TV and Lindsay Lohan's movie is on, and
Love it. See?
Lacey Chabert comes in and says, "Oh, she looks like a girl I went to high school with." Like, and that's it. Then they keep moving. If we did that
Mhm.
with Harmony, and Buffy's like, "Ugh, I went to high school with her," like, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's great, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
funny.
I think so. I think there's just so much world to play with that they left at the end of season 7, and I hope they explore that. In my perfect world, It would be Buffy in Paris in the Catacombs, but also like a new Slayer. I would love to see a Slayer from the projects in New York City or something, like some real grit, some real like
Yeah.
uh, not living in a
Suburb, yeah.
$1 million house in in California, right? Like somebody who's really fighting out there. Also, like a perfect season one big bad is another fucking Slayer gone to the dark side and done like gone way further than Faith ever did. Like really became a big bad that
Yeah.
has to be taken down. Um,
In the Dark Horse comics, and I don't remember her name, I'm sure someone in the comments will. In the Dark Horse comics, they did have a Slayer that turned into a
yeah,
vampire, and I like do think that would be cool. It
cool
was a
shit.
it was a
Yeah.
bummer that they didn't like bring her back once they did the canon comics, but like it was a cool villain, and she was just like a random recurring villain in the comics before they did the canon shit. And I remember like one issue, and like this is gonna sound even dumber, but it worked. She had like a bear demon minion, and it like bursts through the living room and captures Dawn, and it just like is a
Mhm.
ridiculous bear that talks. Like,
I do remember that. Yeah. There's cool stuff in the comics that they could do, like cool one-off shit that they should do.
yes,
Did you ever read the one with Buffy and Dawn and they're like home alone and the parents are like fighting and then there's like a weird demon that like sucks everybody into her stomach and they go to
oh,
like a wasteland and yeah, it's fucking weird shit, but it's cool. It's like visually pretty awesome. I don't know. There's just it's a whole world. Like if The Walking Dead can have a million spin-offs, why can't Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
I I will say the one thing Sarah did always say is there's plenty to explore, as if like I don't need to come back. There's more, which but she's not wrong, right? Like there
Yeah.
is
The
plenty
Ripper
to
There's
show
explore.
that we never got that
infinite
is supposed to be
possibilities.
like really fucking punk and London and gay.
That like is made for Ian, like that.
And
Like
make yes. Bring
Yes.
Ethan Rain and fucking show us Giles and Ethan Rain's friendship and the dark side and it ends the fucking show with them parting ways because Ian or Ethan went too far. Ian went too far. Yeah, him too.
I put a curse on Zach, and
There's just ways to do like so much with this universe and it has been so long and that feels like such a neglect
yeah,
of what could have been, right?
yeah. No, I agree.
Hmm.
I agree. And like again, like I know Sarah was mostly saying it because it's like you don't need me. I don't want to do this again. But also she wasn't wrong. Like like I remember her saying that at Paley Fest and her like being like, Anya has a big backstory that could be it's like that's not incorrect. A lot of these characters have really good like it still would
Explored. Yeah.
unexplored like shit, right? Like I just like we said, like Oz coming back, sure, and give us a little bit more of what he's been up to. Like
Fucking anthology show about Slayers. Each one gets an episode from the past, right? Where the fuck is that? I feel like that wrote itself in the damn comics.
I I mean I know there's like probably not, but I wouldn't mind some kind of Frey something. 'Cause
Yeah,
I do love that
Frey.
comic.
She was so cool. They drew her scythe wrong, but she was cool.
And it was all red. But like I think they explain that eventually in the comics why
I
it's
don't give a
red.
fuck. No, it better look like what it's supposed to look like.
Oh God, maybe they'll release that Factory X thing again, and this time I can actually buy it because
They could.
everybody's been getting a scythe but me. It's like when Willow's like, everyone's getting spanked but me. Everyone has a scythe but me, and I deserve one. So if anyone listening has one that they want to send me or wants to buy me one, I would gladly accept.
One just sold on eBay for like $400 the other day.
That is, I know that's a lot of money, but that doesn't
It's
feel
cheap.
like right. Like
Yeah,
Like,
that
normally it goes
feels
for,
like
like-
nothing.
normally it goes for like 1,000. I'm glad I don't have. I have a lot of saved searches on eBay. A lot of them are Buffy related. I literally don't have a saved scythe search because I was too afraid that if that came along and I was stoned, I'd be like, yeah, fucking
Done. Yeah.
Maybe you can treat yourself when this show comes out,
Yeah, and I actually have money to afford a over $500 item, maybe. But maybe put it on a credit card too. Um,
Who knows?
that is, yeah. Someone asked me, they were like, "What's that like prop version that you're holding?" And I was like, "It's not a prop, or like
What are you talking about?
the silver one that I'm holding in one of the pictures I posted for the end of 2024."
Oh, that. Yeah.
Oh, I was like, "Am I allowed to say? Oh, right, it's right fucking there. I forgot
Yeah,
it's
it's
in
a
your
Zach.
camera view. It's Zach's, and it's
I'm pretty sure I know. I'm pretty sure I found which one it is too.
yeah. You told me that. Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, I think I found the one since then. So back in 2005, somebody took one like a screen used one that they had bought at one of the auctions that sold like a bunch of
Yeah, you did tell me this.
the rubber stunt ones. Well, somebody bought it, stripped it, and was using it to make replicas that they were selling on eBay.
Mm.
And so I don't know who has the replicas on eBay, but those were made out of actual like metal. So they were casting them in metal. So they weren't rubber, but this one's rubber, and I believe this one is that one that I saw in those pictures.
So when I visited Zach and Alistair, they let me touch it, which
I didn't have gloves around you. You would have had to wear them.
I was just about to commend you. Zach
Mm.
didn't. He told me that like if someone he didn't let people hold it, but if he did, they had to wear gloves. He didn't even make me wear gloves, and I cried holding it, because it's the stunt used one, and like I like was crying, and then his husband Alistair put on Chosen, and then I cried even more. Like
Yeah.
at one point, Zach was like, "You were very sweet about it. You were like." You're gripping it a little hard, Ian. And I was like, oh, you're right, I am.
You are. 'Cause we're still worried about oils, okay? No oils on the hands.
I was
Who
like
do you
gripping
think
it and crying.
in the version that they're going for here, the show that they are putting together and the information we know about it or speculated about it, who do you think has the scythe? Do you think Buffy still has it, or where is
I
that?
think she was. I don't know. I could see her giving it to Kennedy or Faith, honestly.
I don't see Faith coming back, so I don't think they would do
Yeah.
that.
Oh, you mean like if it's in the show and we are going to see it, not like just
Yes,
like it's
yeah.
not there. I think Buffy would still have it. Honestly, I could see her
Yeah.
like almost like I'm still the like HBIC. Like I'm still the top Slayer. So like this
Waves
is
it around in her living room while she's like getting antsy and
it's in the same
2
kind of
a.m.
case yours is in, and she just
There's
doesn't use
insomnia.
it. But Ashley, what do you think?
Yeah, I think she would have it, especially if we're not getting Faith.
Yeah.
Because right, I do think it would make
I don't
sense.
think she would give it to Kennedy. I just don't.
I think she would give it to someone that she thought could be the leader when she's not the leader. That's the only reason I would say Kennedy, because I feel like of the Slayers.
That's true.
Or maybe
But I
like
could
for
also
the
see her keeping
battles that are, the big battles that are going along, now they keep in touch with each other, right? And so like when a big battle happens in
just,
Sunnydale,
like-
they have allies, but not Sunnydale, like another place.
I was like, you said
and they-
Sunnydale!
And they send the scythe along. They're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, maybe it's
you know,
traveling.
Yeah, like they could do a
Sisterhood
little.
of the Traveling Scythe. I'm
Yes.
obsessed with it. I'm obsessed.
Because it doesn't
I
even
think
have to
we've
be,
got the title too of this show.
because it doesn't even have to be Willow, but just like have someone who could do a portal and like, well, they just like portal in real quick. Just, like, leave. That's
It almost like it like comes through really fast, and one of them's like almost gets like axed in the head. Comedy.
but like I could, I think she would only give it to someone she thought could be a leader, but I also think she would be like, this is mine, but you guys can use it sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's how I would be.
because she
Yeah,
would
yeah.
probably like pull it out from under her bed or something. It would be dusty, and when she's showing it to that Slayer that she finds, right? Like, there's gonna be a moment where she shows that Slayer.
Yes,
scythe.
and I will cry. I could also see her like you said, Zach, not patrolling all the time, but maybe when she patrols, she just brings it because it's like that's the best.
She's
weapon.
a night owl by nature, so
Yeah.
she's staying up at night, and I think when she stays up at night, she wants to go out and just kind of like wear her energy out.
Right, and I could just see her like the way she in the comics where she always has it like slinged on her back. I could see her like patrolling like that and being like, oh, here's a vampire, let me kill it real quick.
Yeah,
But yeah, all right. If
it's so exciting.
my final question, if you could bring back one non-main cast member character, who would it be? You could have more than one answer if you want. I don't care, actually. You can name as many people as you want, but just like someone who has never been in the credits of Buffy. Who would you
Give us a moment.
Yeah, you
We're
sprung this
thinking.
one on us.
Well, I have my answers already. I already know what I'm gonna pick.
Okay, you go first.
I have like a ranked tier. Again, just people that haven't been in their credits. Drusilla, Harmony, Darla, Clem, and Andrew. Those would be my non-credits returning characters.
Repeat.
What? Oh,
Repeat
Drusilla, Darla, Harmony, Clem, and Andrew.
Okay.
I definitely agree with Darla, Drusilla, and Clem. Clem was the first one that came to my mind because I forget that Darla and Drew like were barely in the show, really.
Really, right? Like,
And they've got such a big presence.
Yeah.
And I mean, you edited it, Ashley. Remember, Julie Benz did say in the watch along that like Darla's the character of everyone she's played that she would love to go back to.
Yeah.
So like that was what I kept thinking. I was like, she said this on my podcast like not that long ago that that's like the one thing she would love to do. And she's gorgeous and like
Yeah.
I really do think her and Juliet Landau could pull it off without them having to do like really much to them.
Yeah.
Like
I
give them
agree.
the silly wig and there you go, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I did text Tom and tell him if they bring him back for him to say he knows a gay who can write for the show or play Andrew's new boyfriend.
Well, Tom, like,
Nice.
I have beef with you from the last time we recorded on, I know, the episode. It was Multiverse of Madness, and you said Buffy Summers was not real.
Really upset Zach.
Very much did, and you owe me an apology. I will expect it in my DMs. God, I wish Amanda hadn't died. Should be cool. I saw
Oh,
her in
yeah.
an interview recently. Did you see that? Where
Oh,
she was
no.
talking about it? Yeah,
No.
she did an interview recently where she was talking about it. She's
Huh.
fucking like, she's so cool.
Tom Lank did say he really liked her. He said she was like really nice.
She seems like really cool. Principal Wood. He wasn't in the credits, right?
No, it wasn't.
I do want Principal Wood back. I think he's pretty awesome. Like the son of a Slayer is just a so cool concept. Like he's got to be in there.
I mean, I
somewhere.
have a list, but like bring back everyone and anyone. I don't care.
Marcy
Like,
would be a really cool one. The Invisible Girl, right? Like shit, something with her.
I feel like
I
make
want to
it
see
gay
her
and
like
Clea
a
Duvall
full
would.
baddie, though. You know, I don't think she was rehabilitated. I think she still wants to choke bitches out.
I can see her being
I
like
believe
full
that.
government assassin though. Like she's working
She
for the
could be an
government, but it's to
assassin, an
kill
invisible
people.
Yeah.
assassin.
Right?
She
Channels it all
escaped
into
the
that.
school because they couldn't see her.
They had a whole class of people they couldn't see.
Yeah.
How would they? They have to have some method of keeping them
They all
there.
left, and at one point, the teacher turns around and says, "Class," and nobody answers.
Me teaching, and I'm like, well, I guess everyone's here. Let me keep going.
Listen, you don't even need the actress because Marcy's invisible. She's gone, right? That's also an aging problem. Although Clea Duvall still looks great. So
Yeah.
Yes.
she can
And again,
still-
I really feel like make it gay, and she'd be like, all right, I'll do it. Is
Yeah,
Marcy gay? Great.
I mean, some of the potentials, obviously, like Felicia Day.
Yeah, I
great.
think Felicia Day.
Rona
Okay.
lived, right? I would like to see what
I
she's
wouldn't
up
mind seeing
to.
her. Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe like give her a little bit of like a
Give her a
rehabilitation.
Rona joke. Finally, to bring it to fruition.
I feel like that is like Sarah Michelle Gellar loved that meme so much, and I was so happy when it's like Buffy being like Rona, right? And I was like, me every time I cough, and I just like was so happy Sarah Michelle Gellar reposted.
Was that the
fucking
one that
meme.
got jacked from you? And
Sure
you didn't,
was!
Yeah, oh yeah,
It was the one
okay.
someone stole from me, tagged her, and she credited them. And luckily, I have Tom who commented to be like, "Oh, that's my friend Slayerfest thing." So she uncredited them because I wanted to do a murder.
Yeah.
Obviously Drusilla. I think Drusilla should not even be a question.
I feel like there's so much there with like a cool reoccurring. Like she doesn't need to be the big bad, but like keep her around to like come back occasionally. And
Yeah.
Juliet Landau absolutely would do it. She's
She
still
falls
doing
into
Drusilla.
it so well. She
Yeah.
just like she just goes into it so well.
She could just be a
Harmony,
little chaos agent, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think Harmony would be fun to see on the TV. Like just a quick little something.
And like maybe like the new Slayer's like, oh, I love that show. Like I feel like that would be
I
like
know,
annoy
it's like,
Buffy.
and that's your line. I went to high school with her.
Yeah.
And if we get Anthony Head back, then I would want to see Ethan.
But he's dead.
In the
That
comics, he dies?
No, that actor.
Oh, did he die?
Don't do that to me.
I didn't know that.
Oh no.
All right. Well, now I'm gonna Google it to make sure.
That
but I'm
would have been
pretty positive.
fantastic. Because he really just like got taken by the initiative and just was.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
We
he
never
died-
heard of him again.
February 2013. It was a while ago, guys.
Oh.
Mhm.
Well, I'm mourning now.
Yeah.
I thought
That's
he
a sad thing.
was like doing the. I thought he died when I was doing the when I started Slayerfest, but that could
I didn't even know you in
That was
2013.
early.
that was
yeah.
12 years ago. That couldn't possibly. Ooh, maybe.
Yeah, just like people like that. I don't think like we need. I don't want to see a Parker. I don't want to see like you don't have to throw everybody who ever appeared on the show in, but like the people who
Right.
had impact. I think.
Yeah. I would. I don't know. We've spent so much time talking about this before this was announced, but I love the idea of catching up with them now. Like I know Sam Gellar's joke a lot of the time has been like, no, I'm too old. I'm like, that's better. Like, good. I'm glad you're older. Like, I movie didn't do well. My favorite Terminator movie was the fucking last one of Linda Hamilton. I
I loved
loved
it. I loved
her.
it. She
I
was so
loved
good.
it. She was
Okay.
so good.
So my admission to that is had also not seen the other Terminator movie. So when they
Like
were
none of
doing the
them?
whole truck scene of them going in reverse, I thought that was the coolest thing. I did not know that they were recreating something, and I was like, "Oh, this is brilliant! This is a brilliant sequence. Whoever wrote this, it should be like awarded everything." And then I
I
found out that it was like a recreation or
I
something.
saw that movie with my mom, and we both like could not stop talking about how much we loved it. And
She should be in this show. That blonde Mackenzie, whatever, she
Ken,
should be in it.
Mackenzie Davis, yeah, Mackenzie Davis. She would be good in that. She would be good in that universe. I'll tell you, Zach. My favorite scene, I think, is right after that when they crash into the water, and it's like them getting out of the truck while trying not to drown. I thought that was like so fucking cool.
Hmm.
And Linda Hamilton gave an interview where she was like, "I love the movie. Apparently, no one else did, but I loved it."
Obsessed with it. I loved it. I even bought her action figure.
Oh yeah, I got that one too. My
Ugh.
mom even was like, "I love that there was like it was mostly all women," and I was like, "Yeah, that fucking ruled." And it was like had gay tones to it to pique
Hmm.
your interest, Ashley. It was like pretty sapphic with the ladies. It was like, are they gonna hook up? Um, but yeah, no, I want you both to know also when I was driving home, before I called you, Zach, I was thinking of like, I wonder if I could start doing like, because I really liked for Slayers doing the like silly images of like what it might have looked like, and I'm like, maybe I should start doing
Yes,
that.
You could.
um,
I support this.
well, thank you both for joining me. I'm realizing how long we've been talking. I'm like, okay, yeah, I need to close this up.
I think
Because
people like for something like this probably like enjoy listening to a longer sort
we
of
got a
thing.
lot to
Yeah.
say. Sabrina was going to join us, but she could not. I would have loved her input as well.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to have a new episode in the Buffyverse to cover however many years long it takes to come out. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it has like I think I said to both of you has like reinvigorated Slayerfest for me, and I still like. Of course, this is my baby, but like for me, I'm like, oh shit, there's gonna be something new.
This is
Like,
Yeah.
your UPN pickup, you know?
um, thank you all for doing this. Thank you all for listening. If you liked Slayerfest 98, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can watch all our episodes on YouTube because now they're all video recordings as well. Make sure you subscribe, give us a like. And if you want to follow us on social, we are at SlayerFestX98 on all platforms. You can support us on Patreon, where we're going through Buffy Season 4 for its 25th anniversary, and we'll be going through other seasons as they turn 25. And Zach and I have a sex and relationship talk show called My Nudie Judy. We do Zoom hangouts, and any and all support is much appreciated. If you want to follow me on social, I'm at Ian X Carlos. Ashley, where can everyone find you?
I am on Instagram at Cause I'm Feeling Fine and Blue Sky at MythTaken314. If you like a very, very different show called Heartstopper, I do a podcast about that where we do in-depth analysis on each episode and
I still gotta watch season 3.
oh,
I do
it's
too.
so good. I was gonna ask you if you'd watched it yet.
Because we want to do them as reactions, so I've been waiting a little bit.
That's
Not to
fair.
have time to do. Yeah, that's fair.
You can find us at Why We Cast on all platforms, and you can listen to us anywhere you get podcasts.
And Zach, where can everyone find you?
You can't.
Zach don't post anywhere.
I will be in Cabo next week with Sarah. And
For a
then
second, I was like, you
will
guys
be
are going on
back.
vacation?
That's
Like, don't
where
we
you
have
can
recordings
find
next
me.
week?
Yes, if you search Zachary Patton Garcia, I'll pop up somewhere. So there you go. And My Bloody Judy is a horror podcast
I was
that
about to
Ian
say
and
that.
I have here. So, oh my God, what happened? The devil got me. I was reaching for this.
yeah.
Yes, on newsstands, next Tuesday, Barnes and Noble, we have our issue of Rolling Heads magazine. So yeah, you can find that next Tuesday, Barnes and Noble. Yeah. There you go.
Zach made that special for us. It was my nice birthday present. And I said this to Zach and he agreed. Seeing our like more like sexier photos in print up front, I was like, who are these sluts?
It's weird. Here, look.
Like it was like somehow more like
It's very uncomfortable for me to have to like flip through these pages and see Ian's schlong hanging out. You know. So
one, you're such a prude. Two, I was just like, we both, oh my God. Like I just felt like it was like I have a naked printed picture of Zachary in my fucking room. Like
very creepy.
but it's cool. My dad asked if we were really putting it out. I had to be like, Dad, no. Like
I just told you next Tuesday, the
Right.
Barnes and Noble.
I finally have my My Bloody Judy poster that Zach gave me, which I love. Yeah, we're still technically on a break, but how could we not talk about this?
No, we're not. We're here.
We still got stuff on the Patreon coming out, but our next like official coverage will be Magician season 2 before we move on to Angel season 4. And I will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my God. Oh, right up there.